Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. Glad you're back with me, or maybe it's your first time. Today, we're reading Bible stories again. Well, last time we did, 2 days ago, because I read a Bible story every other day, Adam and Eve, who lived in the Garden of Eden, they did not obey God, and that is called sin. And they ate from the tree of good and evil that wicked old serpent had told them, this is good for you. Well, it wasn't good for them at all. But that's one thing that wicked old serpent, also known as the devil, does. He lies and he tricks us into thinking that something that's bad is good. Well, today we're going to learn about the first glimmer of hope, because they were so sad and brokenhearted when they had to leave their beautiful, beautiful home. We don't know how far they had to walk, Adam and Eve. The story doesn't tell us, but it wasn't very long before they began to notice changes. Lots of them. Well, for one thing, now they needed clothes. They didn't need clothes before because the temperature was perfect and they didn't get all wet and cold. It was just perfect. The sun did not beat down on them too hard. But now those things have changed now that they're not in the Garden of Eden. So the Lord, He made them clothes from the coats of animals. Now, if you remember, Adam had named the animals in the garden and he loved them. So this was sad. And it was a reminder that because of sin, because of disobedience, things would begin to die. And it was because of a bad choice they made. But those clothes that God made for them out of the animal skins, I'm sure He made them beautifully and sewed them just so they'd fit perfectly, because He really still loved Adam and Eve, just like He loves us. Let's see. So a lot of things had changed. A lot of things that made them sad and made them remember their sin. And here's a picture of what it might have been like when they were remembering. And maybe this is kind of what their clothes look like. Well, when they went over it in their heads, they kept thinking about one thing that God had said, and they didn't know what it meant. He said, I will put enmity between, and he said this to the serpent, between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. And it shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise its heel. So let me say what some of these words mean. Enmity means like war. So there would be war between the serpent and the woman, and between seed. In this case, seed means their children. So the devil's children and the woman's children. Not just her children, but her grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren. And it shall bruise thy head. So one day the woman's children, Eve's children, because we're all considered children of Eve because she was the first mother, would bruise its head. And your children, he said to Satan, will bruise their heel. What could this mean? Well, bruise the head meant that one day one of Eve's children would win the war against Satan at last. And this was their first glimmer of hope. In fact, the first promise that one day the wicked old serpent, he would lose this battle. And they would get to be happy again. And God would restore the Garden of Eden. Oh, that must have made them so happy, especially on hard days. So you can imagine how they began to look forward to one day having their first baby. Maybe he would be the one that would destroy Satan. But it wasn't. They had children. They had, let me find their names, Cain and Abel and Seth. And they loved their children. The years went by, and still no one came to restore paradise and the tree of life. It must have been hard for them to keep hoping. But I wonder what God was thinking about when he said her seed. Let me tell you, he was thinking about Jesus, Emmanuel, which means God with us. He would destroy Satan and bring Adam and Eve and all who love God back to Eden. Of course, if God had said to him, you'll have to wait a long, long time, that would have been very hard for them. So he just told them, one day it will happen. And still today, we look forward to that one day when all of death and bad things will be done. And we'll be able to live forever in perfect happiness. So that's the end of today's story. And I'm glad they have some hope. And we have hope. Even when things are bad or sad, we know that one day things are going to get better. And because God loves us, we have a lot of joy now and a lot of people who love us. Like I love you. All right, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I want to pray for you that you will be blessed and happy, and you'll look forward to when Jesus comes back again and Satan is no more. All right, bye-bye.